Tom, we have a real problem.
Oh, boy, do we. Wait, what? Okay.
Millennials are sad again. It's the holiday season. You know, as you're listening to this, we just crested the United States Thanksgiving weekend, and now we are officially into the holiday giving season. And as such, non-millennial writers have decided that it's time to do research on millennials about how sad they are about a bastion of holiday workplace anxiety. That is the Secret Santa gift exchange, Tom.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think a lot of people give millennials a lot of crap, but I kind of am like, they're just telling us what we've been going along with that sucks. And they're just giving it a voice. I'm kind of a fan of that. Of like, just because we've always done it.
I am such a fan of that. No, of course. This is thank God for millennials, because they speak the truth.
Yes.
Secret Santa gifts exchanges suck. They're the worst. I hate them so much. And yet we have a study that anchors this anxiety in the millennials. It says that 26% of millennials admitted to dipping into their savings or overdrafting their accounts to fund an office gift.
Wow. Because they really want to get it right. Okay.
Yes, 78% of millennials felt they contributed more than they should to an office party gift compared to 58% of the rest of the workforce. But 58% of the workforce saying it is also significant, if I may say.
Yeah.
And so, but here's the one that really drives it home.
Okay.
17% of millennials felt, quote, judged by their coworkers based on the gift they chose to contribute. This is why Secret Santa gifts suck. Nearly 1 in 3 millennials wants to boot the Secret Santa office holiday tradition. They don't want to be judged. They feel like it leaks into all aspects of their work lives. I feel like we need a hashtag for canning the Secret Santa. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
It's stupid. And psychologists agree. Workplace morale experts suggest that workplaces take mental health into consideration when organizing work events. Please, like Secret Santa, it makes your people sad. So please stop doing it.
We're really taking down Secret Santa.
Merry damn Christmas, everybody.
Welcome to What's That Smell? A sometimes funny podcast about humans and their anxieties. I'm Tommy Metz III.
And I'm Pete Wright.
And every week, we each drag one of our deepest, darkest anxieties into the light to share it, learn about it,
and hopefully laugh about it with all of you.
Hopefully, reach out. Send us the story of your anxieties so we can discuss it to something stinky at whatsthatsmell.net. Again, something stinky at whatsthatsmell.net. We'd love to hear from you. And there's going to be a listener submission this episode, I bet. You'll have to stick around to see.
What are we doing here, Poirot?
I've really turned it into M. Night Shyamalan. All right.
Visit whatsthatsmell.net/merch.
That's right.
For our latest and, dare I say, only item in our merch store. Anything you want with the universal truth. What's That Smell line of products. There is no calm.
There is no calm, everybody.
There is no calm. Tell the world what you really think. Show off your anxiety. Hashtag there is no calm. Whatsthatsmell.net/merch.
That would actually make a good Secret Santa gift. Hey, we solved another problem. All right. Moving ahead. With that, I will go first. Pizzeria, as we approach the holidays, I discovered this week. You're still such a huge fan, right? You love your new. All right. Anyways, Pizzeria, as we approach the holidays, I discovered this week that I've been given a gift from Anxiety Santa. So, hooray.
How generous.
Yeah. Something showed up. Well, here, let me just start. All month, I've been doing a deep clean in my apartment, going through closets and stuff and really vetting what I need and donating what I don't. And I have this one closet that I call, I admit too many things on this podcast, but I call it my serial killer closet because it's filled with bric-a-brac top to bottom. Whenever there's something that I get or exchange or something and I don't know where to go, I just sort of chuck it into the anxiety closet. So it's filled with all sorts of stuff. Like if I'm killed horribly and the cops open that, they'll be like, got it. This was all coming. I had crutches from when I tore my Achilles tendon that I thought would make a good prop. I had a bag of rubber bands that I found stapled to another bag of rubber bands. A broken Polaroid camera that I guess I had fantasies of fixing at some point because you know how handy I am. Just all nonsense stuff. And so I was being ruthless with my serial killer closet, just Marie Kondoing the hell out of it. And then I saw
She's totally going to take this, Tom. This is going to be the new Kondo serial killer anxiety closet. And she's already trademarked it. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
That woman is a mercenary.
Oh, wait. Did I mention that everything is covered in blood? Has the serial killer thing not made any sense? I should have started. I really buried the serial killer lead. It is drenched in blood, and it's not mine, Pete. It is not mine. All right. Anyways, I was Marie Kondoing the hell out of it, and then I lifted up a towel, and then I saw it. Sitting on an inner shelf, something I had no idea I was scared of until now. Pete, I'm sorry. I found my very first cockroach.
Oh, no.
We're talking about it, Pete.
Oh, no.
Can you talk about it? I've dialed 911 and I'm ready to follow through if you need it. What would I do? I'm on a podcast. Help. Okay.
We're like 3,000 miles apart.
Exactly. Listeners might remember that I have an interesting relationship with the devil insect known as the ant, but I've never thought about cockroaches much at all. I've never found anyone anywhere that I've ever lived before. And I kind of thought they just sort of lived in like Gotham City. I don't know. I keep a pretty clean apartment, so I never thought it would affect me. But Pete, boy, did it. I didn't get the feeling that I get from ants. The nope thing where I psychosomatically feel them crawling all over me. That didn't happen. But this thing stopped me in my tracks. I yelled, I jumped back, I almost tripped over Foster, and I was frozen. Just staring at it. It brought up something so, I overuse this word, primal or something. It was pure repulsion and anxiety. I couldn't will myself to do something with it. I tried to go near it with a paper towel. I backed up. I was going to hit it with a shoe. I dropped the shoe. I was frozen for what felt like a long time. I haven't felt something like this in forever.
My God,
I don't even feel this way about ants. Where does that even come
from? I think it's because in my head, let me just say, first, I'm right with you. What is it with cockroaches? I think it's because of all of the news about how they will survive anything, cockroaches, right? They absorb radiation and they turn it back out into evil. They, they survive earthquakes. They survive everything. And that makes me think they also might survive shoes. And I'm terrified of finding that out. Like, I don't want to step on a cockroach because in my head somewhere, it's going to catch my shoe like Superman and carry me off. Roach. It's bad. What if he wears it? He starts wearing my shoes and he looks better in them. Oh, God. Oh, that's a crime of fashion and insects.
It's a crime of both passion and fashion.
It's terrible.
Fashion, passion. So, I can tell you what I ended up doing. This is how I was able to do it. I put Foster in my room and closed the door. I don't know what that was a part of it. And then I went and opened my patio door and I walked into my bathroom and I grabbed.
Are you about to tell me that you're herded this out of your house? You herded the cockroach?
Well, sort of. I wrapped because I couldn't bring myself to pick it up with paper towels. It was too thin. So I took an entire bath towel, wrapped it up in the bath towel, ran out to my front patio and threw the towel and the roach onto the front lawn. And then closed my door. And I was like, I'm going to give it like half an hour. And then I went out, picked up the towel all nervous, and it was gone, of course.
Because it's back in your house.
Yeah, it's back trying on my other shoes.
And it's just written you a note for your cabinet that says, screw you, Tom, I'm never leaving.
He put everything back that I had thrown out. Oh, sneaky roach. Okay, so like you, I was fascinated once my heart regained beating. I was fascinated. Why such a huge aversion? Because they're not like mosquitoes, ticks, or fleas. Those three things are disease machines. Mosquitoes are the deadliest animal on the planet, and yet I don't freeze up when I see one. And Cockroaches don't feed directly on our blood, skin, or fluids like all these other things do. But nevertheless, I started to do some research. Humans have hated roaches forever. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, written more than 3,000 years ago, includes a spell invoking the ram-headed god Khum to banish cockroaches. That was 3,000 years ago, and we were already using gods to invent raid.
Wow.
So I did some more research about all the ways that we tried, that for a long time roaches were just taking over the world. And then back in the 1990s, we thought we could stop them. We thought that the war was won because bait traps finally hit the market. And roaches loved these bait traps. They was like cocaine for them, and then it would kill them. After decades of inefficient home treatments, we had finally developed something that could really devastate them. And then they stopped working also, because all roaches do or adapt. In 2014, researchers discovered at least one of the problems. Cockroaches had evolved a glucose aversion.
Oh my God.
The sweetener that roaches originally found irresistible now registered them as bitter. We threw delicious poison at them and they said, no thanks, I'm watching my roach weight. So then I went into
totally
what they
gluten-free. They're trying to I'm not doing sugar.
What if it turns out they're
anymore.
Giving us celiac? It turns
That's
out
right.
like they're the cause. I gave some more thought about how they looked, and they seem like they're designed for hatred. It's the color of sewage. It was shiny and wet looking. It seemed to have no fear of me whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
It just stood there. Oh, and its antenna were like waving at me in, dare I say, a mocking manner. And like he was like, yep, this is my shelf now. And put down the towel. And then, and they're fast.
Yeah.
One experiment, they clocked in an American roach moving at 3.5 miles an hour.
Whoa.
That's the equivalent, said this study, of an adult human running faster than 200 miles per hour.
Oh,
and of course,
come on.
They're super sneaky. They hide, except for this guy who was out getting sun, they hide in dark, gross places. Let me say what I think my aversion, what I figured it out. I watch a lot of TV and have watched a ton of films, and they've been used as shorthand for unclean squalor for as long as I can remember. People don't walk in when the first shot, when cops break into an apartment, it's shot low and you see little scuttling things disappearing under the fridge. So some primal part of me believes the fact that I have a cockroach now, he doesn't live here, means, like, people might, that I'm living in unclean squalor, which I promise I'm not. I keep my place nice, but it's like he makes it seem like I don't. And it felt really violating to have found him in I felt ashamed. I felt less safe. I felt grossed out, and I felt embarrassed and didn't want anyone to ever find out. And all of that gives me anxiety. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today.
Oh, God.
Is because I want to bring it out. The first thing I wanted to do was, like, one of my thoughts was, I hope no one ever finds out about this. That's where anxiety lives.
Yeah.
So, as we say in the opening, I'm dragging it out into the light. And it's super. Are you okay, buddy?
Well, I'm a little lightheaded. This is the thing. They don't look great.
No.
And I am so weirded out by
they don't look great. Yeah.
By your anxiety about these things, because ants are kind of adorable. And these things are so not adorable.
I know. No, they look like either a mix of trash and poop. They just look like things that are supposed to be thrown away. Yeah, I don't know. And it really was different than the ants thing. The ants thing propels me into motion.
Yeah.
I get up, I start stepping up and down as if I'm lifting my feet as if there are ants on the ground, and then I start rubbing my arms. I now know what all of my psychosomatic symptoms are when I think that when I have ants near me. But this was just, I don't want to be too hyperbolic. There was something a little world-shattering about it.
Okay.
My apartment is not the same.
Both of us need to get over this. This is one of those things, like, we can't do this. This is not a thing that we need to worry about, right? The problem is this. When I think of cockroaches, I think of Creepshow. And Creepshow is a terrible
I've still never
example.
Actually watched that whole segment. My parents wouldn't let me watch it when I was growing up, and therefore it's become this big bad, and it's too scary because I don't want cockroaches inside of me. Spoiler
they
alert.
do, and they get under the skin and they crawl around, and it's a real nightmarescape of insectness. And so I'm not crazy about it either. And I watched it. I'm sure the reason I'm upset about cockroaches is because I watched it when I was too young. So what you are saying is they're not necessarily the disease-infested things that we think they are.
No, they're not great. They can cause asthma if they're in really high. That's for real. Something about their roach dander. I don't have notes on this because I wasn't going to bring it up. But yeah, in certain places in New York where there are high concentrations of roaches, asthma, especially in children, skyrocket 20%.
Oh, God.
That there's something that comes off but that's it. And that's big, but that's also when you're like in a serious infestation. Generally, they're so benign.
Why then did the Egyptians start this thing and now hand it down to us? I'm sorry if you've already said this. I feel like I blacked out after you started talking about roaches in your house.
They're gross. They hide. They remind us that we don't have control over stuff. When you kill them, they emit a odor that is like a toilet. They are made to disgust us. Disgust us, I feel. I didn't want to be so gross about this.
No, you're gross. It's awful.
Okay.
No, it's terrible.
You asked. I don't know. Okay.
I regret this show.
James, you regret the whole podcast?
The whole podcast.
I regret podcasts being invented. Let's tear it all down. You're next, Internet. Well, there is of course, do you have a guess on how doctors, if you want to try to get over this phobia, if it is debilitating, which it would be for me if I had a lot of cockroaches. So far, I've had one in a zillion years, and I went out, like I'm wearing roach traps now. Like I bought stuff and they're in the house, and hopefully,
I think we can do this.
Okay.
We can get over this one. Because roaches are not bad, right? They're not that bad. They look gross, but we can change that because there's lots of things that look gross, and we're able to get over it. Okay. I'm just saying, I have hope for both of us. Tell me what to do.
Are you going to be in Spain?
Oh, there's a thing in Spain?
There's a thing in Spain. A team of researchers at the James University in Spain are using augmented reality to treat cockroach phobias. Augmented reality, of course, is computerized images that are projected through glasses into the real world, allowing for a more convincing encounter. That's right, Pete. It's our old friend, exposure therapy. To apply this to cockroach phobia therapists, the headset creates a vision of cockroaches running over the wearer's actual hand.
Yeah, okay.
You do this for 1 to 3 hours, and they say after 2 to 3 visits, you're very nearly cured. Yeah.
So let me just
But even that's too much. Yeah. While I was reading that paragraph, I just noticed my shoulders are all the way up because I'm protecting my neck. Roaches don't have knives, but I'm doing that thing where you crunch up and protect your neck when you're afraid of something.
Yeah. So I got to tell you something. I am a former owner of rats as pets.
Did I know that?
Did you?
Don't know.
Does that weird you out?
No, because I don't find rats scary for some reason. I find all the dumb things scary.
No, I'm totally with you. But rats, and so I'm looking at our old friend Audible.com, and I was looking for things that are related to rats and cockroaches. Actually, cockroaches, and what came up was a brief history of cockroaches and rats, and the cover photo showed the meanest looking, like, biker cockroach. And I'm thinking, I wonder why we're all scared of cockroaches. Like, this is a cockroach that will, like, shiv you, and right next to it is a rat. Like, they're associated together, and I think people are creeped out by the thing. I was creeped out by rats until we heard from friends that rats are adorable and they're great pets. And so we invested in a couple of rats, and I have to tell you, they are adorable. They are wonderful little pets. Yeah. And mine would sit on my shoulder like a pirate pet, and it would hang out while I was working. And sometimes I'd put my feet up on the ottoman, and it would crawl out my legs and put its little feet on the tips of my toes like it was looking out over the bow of a ship. And if something scared it, it would not run for cover like escape. It would run back up my body to my neck and hide behind my head. Like they were the
Right now, there are people rolling over with disgust and anxiety.
I know. I'm sorry about that. But I have to tell you, from my experience, like, I was able to get over it by snuggling with a rat, and that's real.
Oh, so
I have a very hard time imagining you and I snuggling with cockroaches, but I'm just saying there has to be hope.
you know how I got Foster, my dog Foster.
Yeah.
I fostered him. I'm thinking about
Fostering a rat?
fostering a cockroach.
I mean, a cockroach?
Yeah, I'm going to invite that cockroach that was in there before, Towley, I call him, and I'm going to sort of bring him back in, and we're going to start light. Like, he'll have one room, I'll have the other, and then, game night. And we'll start to really try to get to know each other. No, none of that's ever going to happen, but I do, ironically, the only answer to it really is more roaches. Because then I would get used to it and realize it is not something that affects me very much. But I don't want that. So instead, we're just going to burn this entire building down.
We're going to have movie night with Joe's apartment. Remember, those had singing and dancing cockroaches in that movie.
Oh, with Jerry O'Connell? I never saw that. Was that real? I thought I dreamed that.
No, it was legit. Singing and dancing cockroaches. You didn't miss anything.
I think that's probably what I'm missing is musical numbers.
On second thought, just burn the place down.
Okay, deal. Back at it. This year in anxiety. Pete, on last week's episode, you talked about astrophobia or the fear of space. One thing we didn't cover that much was extraterrestrial life. Here's an anxiety bee for your space bonnet. Could aliens be real? Well, on August 15th, 1977, the Ohio State University's, quote, Big Ear radio telescope, end quote, picked up a powerful radio band signal coming from the Sagittarius constellation. It lasted for the full 72-second window, during which Big Ear was able to observe it and bore all the expected hallmarks of extraterrestrial origin. It was dubbed the WOW signal, as astronomer Jerry R. Ehrman wrote the word WOW on the computer printout of the anomaly. To this day, it remains the strongest candidate for an alien radio transmission ever detected. And that makes me anxious, because aliens are what? Terrifying. Yes. Do you know why it didn't make bigger headlines, Pete?
That's all I'm wondering right now, Tom.
Because it was buried by the fact that Elvis Presley died the next day. August 16th, 1977. So, 1977, the year that aliens accidentally butt-dialed us before invading us and then had to kill Elvis to cover it up.
You think you've got it bad. Poor Elvis. Wow. But I have to tell you about something else, because my goodness, this show is sponsored by the fantastic Audible.com. With Audible, you can get over 190,000 audio books, dramatizations, Audible originals. You can get all of these things for your glass rectangles. And by supporting this show, you can get one for free right now at www.audibletrial.com/scent-of-a-podcast. And the thing we're going to recommend today is by one of our very favorite authors, I think collectively, and that is the great Neil Gaiman. Gaiman?
Yes.
Gaiman. I don't know where that voice comes from. What is that?
That's from the producers that brought us Jugular.
The book that we're talking about here is Neverwhere, and we're doing it. Why, Tom?
Because it largely takes place in the sewers where roaches live. There aren't roaches in it, but there's a lot of sewer time.
It's so gross. But I'll tell you, you can either get the full book, which is actually narrated by Neil Gaiman himself. It's 13 hours and 48 minutes. You can get that one for free. Or if you really want to play with it, you can get the Neverwhere BBC Radio full cast dramatization. And that one is narrated by Christopher Lee, James McAvoy, Natalie Dormer, David Harewood, Sophie Okonedo, Benedict Cumberbatch, the Batch himself, and Anthony Head. And you know Anthony Head.
Oh, you really ended on a big one.
Wait, do I know who Anthony Head? Are you kidding? He was Giles.
He was Luke Skywalker.
He was Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I don't know what any of those words are. Oh, is that the guy in the glasses?
Yes.
I only saw the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I loved it.
Once more with feeling, it was fantastic.
That's right. Okay, go ahead.
Not going to lie to you. Anyhow, www.audibletrial.com/scent-of-a-podcast. If you go there and search for this book, you sign up for a new account. You have 30 days free to browse the service. Pick whatever book you want. If you don't want Neverwhere, that's fine. We don't care. But then you pick your book, you download your book, you keep the book forever. If you decide you don't want to remain a member of the Audible service, you can cancel anytime and keep the book forever and ever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Audible. And now, on with the show.
Tom.
Peteria.
I'm not loving that.
Well,
it's okay. It's okay.
Exposure therapy, Pete.
Okay.
Give it a couple more weeks.
I have to start with an apology to you.
Oh.
I know, in spite of this fancy new nickname you've given me, I know how much you hate it when this podcast gets scatological.
Yeah.
So I came across...
Oh, no!
I love the moment of realization
this means that
like
we're all
lightning.
going to... So this whole episode is just a pass for like half of our listener base.
Yeah. See, the problem is this. I came across a listener submission that had been buried in my email since February.
Okay.
And I feel like it's there's a sort of podcast obligation that we actually come back around to talk about it.
We made a podcast pact.
We did. It's a podcast pact. And now we have to talk about this. So the whole thing is, Tom, whatever we talk about from this point forward is not my fault.
Oh, man. So I'm just never eating again, is what we're saying. Well, I could stand to lose a few pounds. So bring it on.
Maybe it's okay. The fault, of course, belongs to Anonymous. Before I share Anonymous's email to us, I will, in fact, tell you a few things as we discuss disgust.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Disgust. What do you think of when I say disgust?
Revulsion, grossness.
How does it hit you? Like, what is it? What do you look like? What happens to you?
I scrunch up my face. I almost reflexively, I'm sure that I close my mouth because when I think about disgust, I think the most visceral thing is that that's somehow going to get in my mouth.
Close the Bombay doors, Hal. Yeah.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And then I usually say, close the Bombay doors, Hal. And during that, Hal, my mouth is wide open and whatever it is just runs in.
You're in real trouble. This is a fascinating thing, disgust, because it is, science says, doctors will name later, that disgust is recognizable across cultures. That it is one of the... Darwin originally said that there are 6 basic emotions, and this one is recognizable across cultures. While experiences of love and happiness and anger and frustration might sometimes, be confused when you go to, I don't know, Singapore or Malaysia, wherever. Sure. This one... everybody gets, right? Huh. Your face does that thing, gets all tight. Your blood pressure goes down. You, believe it or not, reduction in skin conductance comes with disgust. Of course,
what do those words mean?
You're less electrical. I don't know. Oh. It feels to me as I'm reading all these things, your lowered blood pressure, reduced skin conductance, nausea, everything slows down. Like you just are that, because that is the precursor to passing out, right? That's like the thing that happens before. And so of course, the face.
Yep.
Which is the legendary disgust face. What brings us, we talk about all this, which then brings us to indoor plumbing. Hallelujah for this salvation that allowed us to stop doing our business in holes outside of our homes, right? Yeah. And we are free to flush it away far, far away from us in mere seconds without having to engage with it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, we don't get nervous. Right. We don't have to cover it in lime. We don't have to like mix it with anything. We don't have to look at it or smell it or see it. It's just gone. Right. Mm-hmm. Aren't we lucky humans? But that does beg the question, Tom, why then do we introduce animals in our lives that put us in even more direct tactile contact with waste?
Like pets, you mean?
Which brings me to our listener submission.
Anonymous. Who is the whistleblower?
The whistleblower has written, Tom, I have anxiety about getting pets because I can't stand seeing dog or cat poop. I know everyone says it's different when it's your pet, but just seeing it or talking about it makes me gag.
Oof.
Mm-hmm. Yes. This is actually called the fear of feces, Tom, and there's a real word
That's
for it.
That's kind of a lazy name.
Oh,
okay, there is.
There's an official word for it. It is the abnormal or persistent fear of feces, bowel waste. Sufferers of this fear experience anxiety, even though they realize their fear is irrational. They go out of their way to avoid coming into contact with feces, sometimes even seeing the feces. It is termed coprophobia, C-O-P-R-O, phobia, derived from the Greek kopros, meaning dung, and phobos, meaning yikes.
Yeah.
It's a gross one. So why do you even have a dog? I have a dog. I do the same thing. I have to walk around behind the dog, picking up its poop in my hands. I mean, there's a bag there, but I'm holding.
I was like, follow-up question. What's wrong with you?
Putting it in my pocket.
For my scrapbook. Great.
So bad. Why? Is it easier somehow because it's your dog? Do you have a problem with the dog poo in general?
I really don't. I had a dog growing up and I was always in charge of cleaning up after it. Yeah. And when it's my dog, if I step in something that's not from my dog, I'm pretty disgusted and it's gross. Uh-huh. My dog, I'm going to let Anonymous, I mean, she or he's been around since February, so I don't even know. They could be anywhere, but it doesn't, I'm going to let them down by saying it doesn't bother me at all when it's Foster's. I don't even think about it. It's just something I have to remember to have bags. That's all.
Yeah.
But I've used a leaf once.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I have too. And so it is a strange thing, but I do there's a little bit more skittishness at the dog park, although I have been known to pay it forward. Sometimes I'm at the dog park and my dog goes, but I can't find it again. So I'll just pick up another dog's. Yeah, I'll just pick up another dog's poop. And I have trouble. Sometimes I'm like, ugh. And sometimes I'm like one of those people at the dog park, and I don't like this about myself, where you stand there and you see a dog pooping, but nobody seems to be getting it. So you just start saying, we got business here. We got business. And you're pointing to it like there's an alert. Hey, we got somebody's doing business. Anybody going to get this?
What doesn't pick itself up? Quiz time. Nobody enjoys you at the dog park, Pete.
Nope. I am the least popular. Yeah. Yes. So anyhow, this is the thing. We have to talk a little bit about what makes us disgusted about feces, right? It takes us back to our very first episode of the show when I talked about smell particles and they creep into your nose and that causes me great anxiety. It turns out that Anonymous is right to be disgusted. And in fact, our species, along with many others, go out of our way to avoid things that gross us out. And so I have a psychologist here, Paul Rosen, on the line, Paul, from University of Pennsylvania. And he says, when we get disgusted over something like decaying meat, feces, vomit, blood, our sense of disgust helps us stay away from that stuff. We avoid microorganisms that live in gross things that might get us sick.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
We've talked about that. Psychologist Steven Pinker says the same. He says that disgust may reflect, quote, an intuitive understanding of microbiology. Since germs are transmissible by contact, it's not surprising that something that touches a yucky substance is itself forever yucky. It's the transitive property of yuckiness.
Wait, did he use the word yucky?
He did. I quoted a doctor.
He's not a doctor.
He's actually a famous person.
Really?
Famous.
In his same paper, does he call it poopy? Because I don't believe. I think the MD stands for something else.
Right? I am pretty excited about this. So here's some examples. Cows, they do not graze near where their poop lives. Right. And cows are notorious for if they ate near where their poop was, they would be just destroyed with parasitic lungworm, right? Because that's where it lives. And
they're always, I feel like cows are always almost a complete mess.
Yes, they are always almost a complete mess. Imagine if they just ate where more poop was. Like if they were left to their own desserts, right? They would go out and they would graze in clean, fresh grass. Then they would go somewhere else to poop. Sheep, same thing. Researchers at University of Aberdeen show in experiments that sheep overwhelmingly prefer grassland that is not contaminated with feces. And in this university study, they actually tried to get sheep to see if they could tell the difference between poop that was contaminated by worms and stuff and poop that was uncontaminated by anything bad, other than that it was just poop. And they were unable, like the sheep, they just were like, no, I don't want any poop. Why would I want to see to microorganisms or not? I'm not going to eat by poop because, civilized. And so they now
civilized because of evolution.
Because of evolution, right. And so now the researchers have really said, it turns out sheep avoid all poop. Horses and wild reindeer and many primates, they all avoid poopy plots.
This connects to our first anxiety with the glucose now becoming bitter.
Yes.
Because they didn't learn anything. Evolution is such a dumb, brick of a blunt object of adaptability, but too many of them that were excited about the bait traps died, so they started to be like, nope.
Well, get ready for this. What about filthy mice, Tom?
Oh, I like mice.
About them? No, they're filthy. Let me tell you why.
Wait,
do you watch?
Mice are filthy and rats aren't?
Yeah, well, the study in particular did not do rats. They did the mice. So filthy mice introduce what I like to call the Walking Dead paradox. Do you watch The Walking Dead?
I used to.
All right. Here, get a load of this.
Okay.
So you're a mouse. And you're thinking, hey, I want to burrow in that sweet, sweet, sweet hole. I'm going to go into that hole and I'm going to smell, there's a little poop in there. And maybe I'm going to say, oh, it's not my poop. And you would imagine if you were, let's say, a tiny, tiny sheep, you would run away because you don't like poopy places. It turns out mice are all up in the poopy places. They go for the poop, even if it's not their poop. Yeah.
Stop saying poop so much. And stop doing your weird mouse character work.
Kind of from the 1930s. Yeah.
He seemed misogynistic to me. Hey, everybody. Yeah, see? Yeah. Look at that poop. 23 skidoo.
Hashtag poop too. So anyhow, why would these mice possibly be into poopy places? Do you have a guess? Now that you know that this is also called the Walking Dead paradox?
Oh, no, I had a guess, but you reminding me of the clue pushed me farther away.
Well, what that says is it's a terrible clue.
Is it because other people won't go near those places? The mice are protected?
That's right, Tom. That's exactly 100% right.
Oh, because on The Walking Dead, they covered themselves with zombie juice and then they could blend in with the zombies. Got it.
Do you see what we did just there? We tell you here that, in fact, cows and sheep and horses and reindeer and all sorts of animals really, really avoid poop. So if you're a mouse and you are normally eaten by other animals, maybe you want to cover yourself in something that other animals avoid. Not that I'm saying cows and sheep actually eat mice. They do not. No. But somewhere in the food chain above mouse is something that avoids poop and eats mice. And that is a fascinating thing. So what they're saying is that mice have gotten over this disgust thing because they have to balance this complicated equation. Do I want to live another day? Or do I want to risk getting sick from parasitic worms that live in poop, potentially? And they have to balance that. Isn't that a fascinating thing? Now, that takes us all the way back to humans, which is you're doing the right thing to not live in a place with a lot of poop near you, that it is an evolutionary thing. And it's really, really okay if you just don't want to get over coprophobia. Thankfully, I was able to find, I don't know if you remember this, but there was an episode that we did long ago where I was able to walk you through a quiz, right? An online test to see if you suffer hard enough from an anxiety to merit help. And it was from Change That's Right Now. And it was that fill in the blank, all of their anxiety website copy was just find and replace anxieties.
Yes.
They actually have one for coprophobia. Immediate help for coprophobia. And coprophobia can always be overcome. Trusted, effective treatment for coprophobia. It is amazing. And the quiz is exactly the same as you might remember. It is a thing that says, are you suffering from it? And how hard are you suffering from it? And does suffering from it get in the way of your relationships? You're suffering from it so bad.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Do you hate poop? Do you hate poop? Do you hate? And I was like, yes. I have work in the morning. Come on, this test is terrible. I remember that. Okay, yeah.
The bottom line is, if you really, really want to get over coprophobia, you can exposure therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. Like you can move past this if you really want it, and you can get to the point where you can approach the poop and not fear it. And so it's...
And I think that your thoughts are correct. I know that you were sort of maybe discounting it. I think it will be different if it is your pet.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that we are, when you fall in love with something, we've been talking a lot about evolution. We are giving each other signals that, there's a reason why we clean up after babies.
Yeah, right.
And it's not just, because we want to be civil. It's because there is something hardwired in us to make it not so distasteful.
Exactly.
It's not the best, but it is lowered because it is being overpowered by your love for this thing. So I think that there's hope. Yeah.
I think there's absolutely hope. You should totally give it a shot because it's a chemical bond you get with your pets, right? Once you fall in love with it, it's just, you'll put up with a lot of stuff. And believe me, there's a lot of stuff. We're just talking about what comes out the back end. Wait till you start messing with what comes out the front. Oh, God.
Insults. Wait, that might just be my dog.
Make me feel so high. You make me feel so high.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this disgusting episode. Today's tune is Hi by Guy Mart. Hi by Guy Mart.
Coming up next week.
Hey, Russian listeners, please leave our country alone.
We clearly know nothing about your country.
Yeah, we know nothing.
Sorry.
Except the news has us really scared that you now run our country. So, you know what you are? You're an anxiety swinger. That's what we should have called this anxiety key party. Oh.
Well, I'll tell you, that at least would have been better for our SEO. What do you think the shark is going to say?
Meat.
He doesn't say meat because we're actually anthropomorphizing the shark now, and you've sort of taken the metaphor and taken it in a new direction. I like that. I like that sort of blue sky thinking that you're doing here. But we're gonna
let me try again. The shark goes rah!
Until then, I'm Pete Wright,
and I am Tommy Metz III. Thank you so much for downloading. We'll be back next week on What's That Smell?